If you're coming to Santorini on a cruise, then this video is definitely for you. I've split it into 3 parts. 1, getting off the ship. 2, what you should do on the island, considering you only have a few hours. And 3, getting back on the ship. So, point number 1, getting off the ship. Ships don't dock in Santorini because our harbors aren't big enough. So you'll need to be tendered to shore. There are no formal timetables for those tender boats, but you can count on the fact there will approximately be 1 tender every 10 or 15 minutes, and each tender can fit up to 100 people. Now, where will the tender bring you? Well, here at what we call the old port. There's another port down here called Athinios, and in some cases you will be brought there instead, but more on that later. The big problem of the old port is that you're at the bottom of a 200-meter cliff and there is no road access. To go up, you've got 2 options. 1, you walk the 588 steps, which takes at least half an hour. And let me tell you right away, I do not recommend that option. Not only is it very tiring, but on top of that, you've got the mules going up and down all the time, shoving you off their path in a pretty sketchy way. And on top of that, the stairs are covered in their poop. So yeah, I'm not a big fan of these stairs. The second option to go up is the cable car. It takes less than 3 minutes and it costs 6 euros per person. Much better option than the stairs. But there's a but. The cable car can only take around 1,000 people up per hour, and sometimes there are 5,000 or 6,000 people needing to go up. So a massive line starts to form, often longer than an hour, sometimes even 2. This footage you see here is actually the line to go back down, but yeah, it gives you an idea how bad it gets. Now, fortunately, those lines are not every single day. It all depends how many simultaneous cruise ships there are. There's an easy way for you to know how many other liners will be in port on your day, and that's by going to Cruise Mapper. I'll leave the link down below. You click on schedule and bam, right there you see the schedule of every ship coming to Santorini. As a rule of thumb, for each additional ship, add half an hour of waiting time at the cable car. Now, what if your tender drops you off at the old port and you see a huge line? Well, I have 2 pro tips for you. Stuff I'm sure many cruisers would have loved to know. There are actually 2 easy ways to avoid these lines. The first option is booking a shore excursion, meaning a tour provided by the cruise company. These are usually half-days activities. The most common ones in Santorini are a bus tour around the island going to all the famous spots, a volcano tour by boat, a wine tour, or a guided tour of the Akrotiri archaeological site. Now, what does any of this have to do with skipping the line at the cable car? Well, that's because usually if you book a shore excursion in Santorini, your tender boat will bring you to Athinios port and not the old port. And Athinios does have road access. So as soon as you arrive in Athinios, you'll hop on a private bus and bam, you're good to go. Plus, passengers who booked a shore excursion usually get priority disembarkation, so you'll get to be on the earliest tenders leaving the ship. Now, please double check this for your specific cruise, because what I just said is the general rule, but I'm sure there will be some exceptions here and there. Now, what if you don't want to book one of these activities because you want to be more independent, but you still want to find a way to avoid the crazy lines at the cable car? Well, the other way is to take a water taxi to Ia and then come back later with a private bus to Fira. Such a package costs around 40 euros per person. So the way it goes is, at the old port, instead of lining up at the cable car, you hop on a speedboat and head to Ia. That'll take around 30 minutes, and the views, by the way, will be gorgeous since you're sailing by the Caldera cliffs. In Ia, you'll be dropped off at Moody Bay. There, a minibus will be waiting and will drive you to the top of Ia so that you don't have to walk the 240 steps. At that point, you have some hours to visit Ia, and then there will be multiple private buses, which are part of this package, going back to Fira at different times. It's usually 3 buses, so for instance, one departing at 5 p.m., one at 6 p.m., and one at 7 p.m. And of course, if you want to leave earlier, you can always use the public buses, which between Ia and Fira are super frequent, usually one every 20 minutes. But if you take the public bus, then of course you will have to pay, while the private bus is included in the 40 euros you've paid. Now, where where can you buy this package I just explained? Well, at the old port, directly, just after hopping off your tender. There are a few travel agencies there with signs like these. Just go and talk to them, pay, and you're good to go. Be careful that some of them do not include the way back to Fira by bus. They only drop you off at Amudi Bay and then you're on your own. So before paying, make sure you understand what the package includes. Alright, so this was for the disembarkation procedure. Now what should you do on the island? Well, in my opinion, you have three options. One, you do the famous hike from Fira to Ia. All the information on that hike plus how not to get lost in this video here. And actually, if you took the water taxi to Ia, like I just explained, then you can do the hike the other way around from Ia to Fira. I love this activity, especially for cruisers like you, because you see so much of the island in such a short amount of time. Option number two, visit Fira and Ia, using public buses to go from one to the other. And when I say visit Fira, I don't actually mean the alleys of the town, but rather the views you have from the cliffside alleys. If you want to make sure you understand which spots exactly I'm referring to, you can watch this video. After visiting Fira and Ia, you could still have some free time, depending on how fast you were, in which case I would suggest a wine tasting. Now for you cruisers, I would recommend the winery called Anidrus, since it's the only winery in Fira. For any other winery, you will start having to take buses or a cab, but since you're on a tight schedule, better not go too far away from Fira. Option number three is to go on a private tour by car around the whole island. It's kind of similar to the shore excursion I mentioned earlier, except that this one is private. You have a guide for yourself. You're not on a big coach with 50 other people. This option is obviously a bit more expensive, but it's definitely the one that offers you the most, because you'll be able to see pretty much everything of the island in just 5 hours. I'm gonna link you down below the guys I recommend for that private tour. Oh, and by the way, whatever you book, make sure you can have a refund in case you have to cancel, because we have some very windy days in the Cyclades during the summer, and cruise ships often swap destinations or even fully cancel one. So yeah, don't book anything that doesn't have a cancellation option. Okay, now what about restaurants? Well, here's a list of places conveniently located for you, meaning near the cable car station in Fira. If you want the caldera view, then it's Nausa or Aris. If you want the best food but no view, then I would go to Kapari or Meraki. If you're vegetarian or vegan, you can go to Five Senses. And if you want to be by the water, there's actually one great restaurant at the old port called Lombranos. But whatever you do, don't go to the other restaurants at the old port. These are huge tourist traps. Alright, now how do you rejoin the ship at the end of the day? Well, nearly everyone will have to take the cable car back down, even those who booked the shore excursion. There's only one exception. If your shore excursion takes many hours and finishes only, let's say, 1 hour before your ship departs, then you will be dropped off back at Athenios. But if your excursion finishes hours before departure, then they will drop you in Fira, not Athenios. Now, of course, if you want to skip the line, you can always walk the 588 steps. And actually, I think that on the way down, it's not too bad. So if your legs don't hurt already from all the sightseeing and you see there's a huge line, I would give the stairs a shot. But just keep in mind that these steps are pretty slippery because these cobblestones are very polished, so you need good grippy shoes, no sandals or flip-flops. Oh, and just so you know, the last tender usually leaves the old port around half an hour before departure of the ship. Alright, now if you're going to Santorini on a cruise, chances are you'll also come to Athens. I'll be posting a video at some point on what to know when you're coming to Athens on a cruise. If it's ready by now, I will link it here. And if you want to know what you should be packing when coming to Santorini, this one is for you. And there you go. Hope you liked it. See you in the next one. Bye.